When it comes to superheroes, not all of them can have a happy backstory and life. While Superman was raised by loving parents and has generally been able to avoid major tragedy for most of his career, many other heroes are not so lucky and are always discovering what new lows life has in store for them. Welcome to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Andrew Boyd, and today we will be looking at the top 10 superheroes with brutal lives. Let's dive in. Number 10. Batman. Batman is perhaps the poster boy for miserable superheroes. When he was a child, he of course saw his parents die in front of him, causing him to vow to protect Gotham City from crime as Batman. Batman has witnessed many tragedies during his time in the cowl and has had his fair share of horrible things happen to him, such as losing one of his sons, Jason, as well as his father figure and faithful butler, Alfred. He has also had to deal with several horrible injuries, such as being repeatedly shot and stabbed and having his back broken. He also got left at the altar on his wedding day, which was not great for his mental health, I'm sure. Despite being a character who is very much defined by what he has lost, he has probably gained more over the years. He has a massive family of both biological and adopted children and has an extensive collection of allies and friends. On top of this, most of the things that he has lost have come back to him over the years. He lost Jason Todd, but he returned to life. The same thing happened when he lost Damian Wayne or Stephanie Brown. Out of all the major losses, the only ones that have stuck are his parents and Alfred. And let's face it, Alfred coming back is only a matter of time. Batman's life is better than he lets on. And he's probably just depressed, which is why he's at the bottom of this particular list. Number 9. Angel. Warren Worthington III was one of the original X-Men, having giant bird wings that allowed him to fly as Angel. He spent years as a hero until the Mutant Massacre. He was captured by the Marauders, who then cut off his wings and crucified him. This caused him to spiral into an awful depression, which eventually led to him trying to take his own life. This was prevented when Apocalypse showed up and made Angel an offer. He would give him back his wings if Angel would become one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, the Archangel of Death. This got him his wings back, but caused a host of other problems, with him having to work to resist the evil force that was put inside him ever since. Number 8. Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff has gone back and forth between hero and villain during her many years at Marvel Comics, with her being responsible for a lot of horrible things that have happened, such as the infamous No More Mutants thing, but that is not to say that she hasn't had a somewhat tragic life herself. Things didn't get off to a good start when she was kidnapped from her mother as a baby by the High Evolutionary, who experimented on her to give her powers. While staying with old HE, a demon named Chthon chose her to be his vessel, trying to possess her multiple times. She tried to put out a fire in her village with her powers, and people assumed that she was the one who started it and attacked her. This led to her being saved by Magneto and joining the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. She eventually became an Avenger and married her teammate Vision. She used her powers to create a pair of twin boys for her to raise. This made reality unstable, and Wanda was forced to give them up, and they faded from existence. This led her down a dark road where bad stuff continued to both happen to her and because of her. She has had a far from easy life. Number 7. Spider-Man. Spider-Man lost his parents when he was a young boy, and he was sent to live with his aunt and uncle. When he developed spider powers, he chose not to stop a criminal who went on to kill his Uncle Ben, and as a result, he became a superhero with a guilt complex named Spider-Man. Spider-Man has certainly had his fair share of losses with his parents, his uncle, and his first great love, Gwen Stacy, who got thrown off a bridge and died from whiplash when Peter tried to catch her with a web line. He's had some major wins as well though, having dated some of the most absurdly attractive women in comics and getting married to his perfect partner, Mary Jane Watson. Although, this was undone in a deal with a demon in order to save Peter's Aunt May. Since then, it's been a downward spiral, with Marvel editorial seemingly being unwilling for Peter to grow as a person. They let him and Mary Jane become pregnant, but then made the child a miscarriage at the last minute. They undid his marriage, they made him the head of a big company which he then lost. He became a teacher but was fired. It seems like any time he's about to move into a new era, something happens that makes him single, broke, and taking pictures of himself for the Bugle for money. He has a less intense series of losses than a lot of the others on this list, but it's just a constant stream of pain and anguish for the poor guy. Sometimes to the point that it doesn't even make sense. He recently broke up with Mary Jane, and 6 months later, she's with some guy named Paul, and some kids are calling her mommy. Spider-Man is known for having a rough life, but Marvel needs to let him be happy for a bit, just for something different. Number 6. Daredevil. Daredevil is another character who almost notoriously can't seem to catch a break. When he was a child, Matt Murdock was in an accident that caused a radioactive isotope to get in his eyes, blinding him. It also gave him heightened senses and amazing abilities, but life wasn't through with him yet. His father was a boxer who refused to throw a fight, for which he was killed, leaving Matt with no family to speak of. He became Daredevil as well as a lawyer, but it has been far from an easy gig. One of his loves, Elektra, was killed by the villain Bullseye. As if that wasn't bad enough, Bullseye would later end the life of Matt's other great love, Karen Page. Speaking of Karen, she was an addict who sold Daredevil's secret identity for a fix, which allowed the Kingpin to systematically destroy Matt's life. It eventually got back on track, and Elektra eventually returned to life, but Matt has had to deal with his secret identity getting leaked constantly, getting possessed by a demon that made him murder people, being sent to prison multiple times, and having an almost constant tension with the people who care about him. On top of all of that, he has massive Catholic guilt, which just makes everyone feel worse. Number 5. Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter's life since he came to Earth has been pretty good, all things considered, but his backstory is just so brutal that it earns him a spot on this list. John Jones was born on the planet Mars, where he lived with his wife and daughter. This idyllic life came to an end when John's evil twin created a virus that made Martians burst into flames when they used their psychic powers. Due to this virus, John had to watch his wife, his child, and everyone he ever knew burst into flames. When a scientist on Earth attempted to make contact with Mars with the use of a transmitter, it instead transported John to Earth, where he became the hero, Martian Manhunter. He has handled the loss incredibly well, but losing everyone you ever knew in one of the most painful and brutal ways possible is simply a terrible way to live. Number 4. Guardian. James Hudson of Alpha Flight has had a rough go of it. He was raised by a single mother after his father was killed in a knife fight when he was just a child. He never wanted to be a superhero, but after he developed the Alpha Flight program and its chosen leader, Wolverine, left, he had no choice but to step up. His suit's power pack overloaded in Alpha Flight 12, causing him to light on fire in front of his wife and for him to be presumed dead. He was actually transported to a different planet 10,000 years in the past. The alien inhabitants tried to repair him, but confused his power suit for part of him and turned him into a cyborg before putting him in cryosleep and sending him back to Earth. He returned after having been gone for 2 years and was reunited with his wife. Less than 10 issues later, he was forced to sacrifice his life in order to fight Galactus and was considered dead again. He was actually found and captured by the evil Master and brainwashed into becoming a villain against his old team. He overcame this and was finally free to live his life, until he discovered an evil plan from the government and his suit was sabotaged to send him to deep space, making everyone think he was dead again. The government made a younger clone of him that began dating his wife until Hudson came back, only to discover that his wife had broken up with his clone and was now dating his teammate Puck. The clone later died and he was able to win Heather back, and the two had a child. But on the day she was born, a rogue government employee who wanted Heather for himself shot James out of the sky, causing him to break every bone in his body and almost die again. Wolverine gave him a transfusion that helped to heal him, and he was free to live his life until him, his wife, and his team were killed by the Collective, leaving his daughter to be raised by distant relatives. He and Heather came back to life, but their dangerous lifestyle caused the courts to refuse them custody. Heather was brainwashed by the Master into being a villain, and she killed her relatives to get her baby, causing her to become a wanted fugitive with his child. He eventually tracked them down and put them in a hollow prison where they could be safe and not hunted, but his wife made it clear that she was still leaving him. So for those counting, he's died like 5 times, and every time he comes back to life, his life actually gets way worse than it was before. Number 3, the Hulk. Even before he became the Hulk, Bruce Banner led a pretty miserable life. His father was a violent drunk who would hurt Bruce and ended up killing his mother in front of the young boy. He threatened Bruce until he lied in court, saying that his father didn't do it, but after Brian drunkenly boasted about the crime, he was put in a mental institution. Bruce spent his childhood suffering from mental health issues, and 15 years later, Brian was released into Bruce's care. While visiting his mom's grave on Christmas Eve, Brian attacked Bruce and Bruce pushed him, causing him to crack his head open and die because of the gravestone. Bruce repressed this memory and grew up to be a great scientist. While testing his gamma bomb, Bruce realized that a teenager had wandered onto the test site and got him to safety, getting caught in the blast himself. This changed him so that whenever he became angry, he would would transform into the Hulk, a giant green rage monster. He has spent much of his life since then constantly on the run and being hunted like an animal by the US military. Even when he manages to be a hero for a while, it's never long before someone decides he's too dangerous and needs to be taken out. Bruce lives a life on the run with nothing of his own, not even the clothes on his back, which he loses when he transforms. He has managed to develop a support system like his wife and Rick Jones, but between the multiple personalities and the constant battle with supervillains, he has led a pretty rough life. Number 2, Deadpool. Wade Wilson was a Canadian who moved from Canada and joined the Special Forces in the US, and later became a CIA until he fell in love with the mutant Vanessa Carlyle. Things were good for a while until he developed 34 inoperable cancerous tumors. He left Vanessa and returned home to die. He was recruited into the infamous Weapon X program and given a healing factor which caused the cancer cells to multiply, leaving him hideously disfigured. He was sent to a facility for hospice where the villain Ajax tortured him until Wade escaped and became a mercenary again. He was driven insane from all of this and became the Deadpool we all know and love today. Although he can heal from any injury, Wade is constantly put through the ringer, being given some of the worst physical damage and torture that anyone could endure. He has trouble getting other heroes to respect him or treat him well, and had to give up his daughter because he felt that being around her would only put her in danger. He has a good heart, but there are few superheroes who have endured the amount of pain Deadpool has. Well, except of course, number 1, Wolverine. Wolverine was originally James Howlett, a Canadian living in the late 1800s. When he was a young boy, his groundskeeper killed his father and tried to kidnap his mother. His mutation manifested at this moment, with him popping bone claws, which he used to kill the attacker. Turned out, the groundskeeper was his real father, and his mother sent him away before taking her own life with a shotgun. And it just gets worse from there. Wolverine has lived a long life and therefore has seen almost everyone he's ever loved die, including his wife Itsu and Jean Grey, multiple times. He spent many years traveling the world until he was subjected to the experiments of the Weapon X program, who gave him his trademark metal claws. In the years after this, he fought many foes and was subjected to pretty much any injury you can think of, be it having his metal skeleton pulled out or being run over by a steamroller. In a more recent example of his terrible life, he was forced to fight a group of killers who were after him called the Mongrels. He killed all of them before he was informed that every member of the team had actually been one of his children that he had conceived during his wandering years. Rough, dude. Any other superheroes who just can't seem to catch a break from tragedy? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe for more Top 10 Nerd.